I have in the last year or so gotten out of shape. For a period of my life, I've actually been in very good shape in the past. I've been about 11, 12% body fat at one point. I've been pretty bulky at one point. But after COVID, I made a habit of I started drinking and I started binge eating a lot more. And I took on some bad habits that really got me out of shape, got me into the worst shape I've been in my life. Right now, I weigh about 204 pounds, whereas for me, being in really good shape would probably be about 160 ish. So definitely overweight. I'm not like massively obese, but I'm not in good shape. And if you want to get something handled, the best way to do it is with coaching, is with guidance from an expert. And so I thought I would do some personal training sessions live for you guys to see, to get some guidance, get some inspiration, and things like that, so that you could learn exactly, if someone wants to get in better shape, how they do it. And I'm putting myself on the line. I'm putting my ego on the line. I'm putting, pressure on myself, because if I don't get in better shape, then I've just put this out publicly. And, if I gain 20 pounds or something during that time, that would be incredibly embarrassing. So I'm putting myself on the line. But I think physical health is something that's very important, and it's something that I've neglected for too long and too much. And so it's something I've decided to take seriously. And I thought, why not? Usually you see the finished product when it comes to self-help, when it comes to like a pickup coach. You see them when they're good. You don't see their first approaches when they suck, right? And so this is going to give you a different perspective of seeing someone who initially sucks get better. And I think that's going to be a lot more relatable for a lot of people.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, and credit to you because we were talked about this a bit before we started streaming. Is I study a lot of psychology with what I do. You obviously do too. That's one of the things you're known for within the cold approach space. Um, but yeah, one big thing that guarantee because I've worked with like hundreds of people at this point. I've been a fitness trainer since I was 20. I'm 29 now. It's been like 9 years. So I've kind of seen everything. And the people that always succeed the most are the ones that have some sort of accountability and you know um, because at the end of the day, fitness and losing weight is really not that complicated. You burn more calories than you consume. That's about it,
Yep.
right?
It's
But it seems,
annoyingly simple, yet most people don't
yeah,
do it, obviously, right?
yeah, but it's the same thing of like, oh, well, how do you succeed in life? Well, make a lot of money and have the right investments, and then have the investments pay you, and then you retire, right? Like on the surface, everything can seem very simple, but
Well,
then
yeah.
when
How
you
do you
get
get
into the
laid? Approach
details,
50 girls a day, ask them all out, try to pull. Even if you're really nerdy and
yeah,
awkward, you're going to have some success, but who's willing to actually do that? Very few people.
exactly, yeah. So that's why it's good to have an expert to sort of expedite the process, but also just cut out any of the BS where otherwise, because anybody can just try to do fitness on their own and figure it out eventually, but you're going to be having to spend hours and hours and hours of research designing your program and shit. Instead, I'm doing that for you.
Well, and there's two
Um,
big issues, right? One is blind spots, right? I remember the first time that I tried working out, the first time I started going to the gym, what I would do is, I lifted the weights correctly. I did, my workout plan was probably fine, but I wasn't eating enough calories at all. And I was trying to bulk up, but I didn't even really understand how important that was and how you need to track it and be aware and all these kinds of things. And so I just winged it, didn't eat enough food. And, I gained a little bit, but barely, not nearly what I should have if I just had the proper diet, right? And I had that blind
mm,
spot for months that basically hamstringed my progress.
yeah, yeah, and it's the thing that we're going to figure out as time goes on, and we can do this pretty quickly, is like compliance is key, right? So you you don't always want to chase whatever's most optimal, because if you're trying to do whatever's most optimal, I'll just have you eat like every 4 hours, very protein based, and we can do that. But if that's something that's really tough for you to stick to, then it's pointless. I would always
Right.
sacrifice even 20, 30, even as much as 50% optimality for an equal amount of compliance, because it's like if you don't follow it, then it doesn't matter, and all that's going to happen is your progress is going to be a bit slower. But in the grand scheme of your life, who the fuck cares? Like as long as you're actually adopting this as a lifestyle, that's what matters. So part of this whole process is me sort of helping you to figure what that is, It
Right.
might be intermittent fasting. It might be keto. It might be whatever. It might be just a more traditional, eat every few hours type of thing. Um, and so, especially with weight loss, that's the main thing. However, the workouts are there to sort of supplement and make things easier. And also, the main priority that you should be doing when you're working out isn't necessarily to burn a bunch of calories, but it's more so to actually build muscle, functional tissue. Because like if you lose a bunch of weight, well, if you don't have anything underneath it, you're just going to be like you're just going to have that sort of skinny fat look, right? Which is not something anybody really wants, especially if you're a guy.
Right.
So you want to build that foundation underneath, and then also building muscle, it's functional tissue. So you actually burn more calories as time goes on when you do that as well. It's not a significant amount, but it's definitely enough to justify working out. You want to look good, right? Because at the end of the day, the point
Right.
of it isn't just to lose body fat, it's to look good. So you can have a low body fat percentage, be built like a twig, and not look great at all, right?
Like Pete
Conversely,
Davidson or
you can
something.
yeah, exactly.
No
Conversely,
offense.
you could have sorry, Pete Davidson. Uh, I'm sure his life is going to be a bit
I think
ruined
he'll be
off
all right
of
after
our
this. Yeah.
of him.
Yeah.
But yeah, conversely, you can have a higher body fat percentage, but a lot of muscle and look pretty good. So ideally, we
Right.
kind of find that exact right range. And so this is where people screw up with weight loss is sometimes they're a little bit too aggressive. So all of our bodies have this thing called a body fat set point range. So it's
Yeah.
actually
Hmm.
subjective to each person and it can change over time. Where you're sort of if you're within a certain body fat range, your body's kind of okay with it. And if you're outside of that range, it actually gets significantly tougher. So, for example, for myself, I would say my body fat percentage range is somewhere between 12 and 18%. So, if I go
Yeah.
up above 18%, my appetite slows down. It's really hard for me to I
Your
have to
body
almost
fights
force
to put
feed
you back
myself.
there. Right.
Exactly. Yeah. But then on the lower end of that range, if I'm trying to get really lean and shredded, I'll be having a jolly old good time all the way up till 12%. And then all of a sudden from 12% under, it's like fucking hell. So
Right.
what we're going to try to do is to get you on the lower end of that body fat set point range. And then once we're there, maybe try to slow it down a little bit, but because you can actually change your body fat set point range uh, as time goes on. That's a little bit more of a longer term
Well, I
process.
know I've changed mine because it used to be like 150, 160, and then now
Yeah.
it's 200.
Yeah. So naturally, that's it's going to change usually for the worse as you age. But a lot of it has to do with lifestyle and all that types of stuff too. So luckily, you live in Las Vegas, the approaching and stuff you do. I mean, we've done that together. It's a lot of walking around, so that's
Well, if I
good. So
showed you
one of
my
the things,
steps, it's an average of 5 to 10 miles a day, something like that.
perfect. So that's one thing that's going to be really easy then is, and that's actually the main way exercise wise. A lot of people don't know this. The main exercise that you have in terms of losing body fat specifically is your steps. Is it's
Yeah.
lists. What is it? So there's an acronym for it. So it's the you lose weight off of a few different ways. So one is called the acronym for is NEAT. So a non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Try to say that 3 times as fast. But basically, that's your body just burning calories throughout the day. That has nothing to do with exercise, right? But the total amount of um, calories that you burn throughout the day, it's going to be a mix of your NEAT and the mix of your exercise activity. So your exercise
Mhm.
activity most obviously comes from the gym, but again, the actual biggest determiner is just your steps that you take throughout the day, low intensity, steady state, um, and then those two things combine to something called TDEE, which is total daily energy expenditure. So that's the total amount of calories you burn. So if you take in less food than that, so let's say your TDEE is 3,000 calories a day, and then you consume 2,500 calories that day, well, your body still needs 500 calories of energy to be able to just live. So where's it going to take that from? The first place it's going to take it from is your body fat. It's really that simple.
Right.
Um, Now, as you get leaner and leaner, um, your body is going to want to preserve your body fat more. And then that's when it can start to take that extra energy from something like muscle, for example, which, unless you give it a reason, muscle is very metabolically costly. Unless you give your body a reason to maintain that muscle, as your body fat percentage goes down, your body's going to try to take that energy from muscle. And that's when your muscles start shrinking, right? Nobody wants that shit. So
Right.
the gym is there to sort of counterbalance that. And ideally, you're also building some muscle while you're losing body fat, which is possible to do if you're at a certain
Interesting.
level of fitness, and if your diet's not too aggressive. So from what I know about you, you're at the stage where it's definitely possible to build some muscle while losing body fat. It's not going to be a significant amount, but it'll be enough where you can make a pretty drastic transformation. Yeah.
Cool.
So
Sounds good to me.
yeah. Hmm.
I kind of, so should we start by creating some kind of goal for the 30 days, or where do you think we should start with the actual creating a regimen?
So there's a few things here. There's a few methods where, okay, so here's the way that I like to formulate it. Okay, so imagine that your imagine there's a trampoline, right? So at a trampoline, you're going to go as high as however much force you put into the trampoline, right?
Hmm.
So I want you to sort of imagine your diet that way. So if we were to do a very aggressive diet in 30 days, which you can absolutely do, it would be equivalent to you like jumping off of a tree, jumping on the trampoline, and like hop like going straight up to the sky. But then when you do
Right,
that, you're
right.
going to have a hard crash landing, right? So
Sure.
alternatively, if you just kind of do like a moderate jump, then you're not going to like crash all the way down. The So if people don't understand the analogy, I'll explain in more direct terms. When you do a very aggressive diet in just a 30-day span, you can lose a lot of body fat, but alternatively, what's going to happen is your body is going to be pretty shocked, and the body fat range, set point range that we just said. Let's say that we can get you down to, let's say your set range is at anywhere from, let's say 18 to 25%. Let's say you start off at 25%, we get you down to 18 in just 1 month. Your body's going to want to really come back up to that 25% pretty quickly, right?
Okay.
So it is up to you how you want to do this. We can do a more aggressive diet, but it's going to make you probably perpetually hungry for the next like month or so or
Okay.
whatever.
So let
Or
me give
what
you
we can
some
do.
some
Oh yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
there's some information that I think is important for with this. So I
Sure.
generally have very good discipline, willpower, stuff like that. I can deal with cravings and stuff like that. But the one thing that throws me off is I've reduced my drinking by like half or so in the
Mm,
last month. But if I drink any given night, if I have like 4 or 5 drinks, whatever, I will binge eat after I drink. And I
mm,
will most likely the next day, I'm going to feel like shit and going to like eat like shit the next day. That's one of the biggest patterns that has gotten me out of shape, right? So most of
mm.
the time, if I don't do that, I don't have any problem. Doesn't matter how strict the diet is, I can do it. But whenever if I end up drinking, that is what tends to throw me off, and I need some kind of way to avoid that or deal with that or some contingency, because that's the thing that causes the most problems.
Good old drunchies, yeah. Yeah, so I got that a lot, especially when I was doing a lot more cold approach pickup stuff in my early 20s, more specifically when I was 23. So funny enough, actually the leanest I've ever been when I stepped on stage and I did a physique competition. Um, I got
Maybe
so
we'll add a
lean, and
picture
I
of that here on the actual
yeah,
video, right?
well,
Maybe we'll add a picture for you for everyone.
yeah, sure, okay, yeah, we could do that in post or whatever. But yeah,
Mm.
I got so lean, dude. So because I did it naturally, right? I never touched a needle in my life, but there's a kind of flip side to that is your testosterone just tanks when you get that lean. I was so lean, my dick stopped working. All right, like completely,
Mm.
like
Wow.
like you get ED at 23, like self imposed because your body thinks it's dying. You know.
It's kind of
So anyway,
hilarious because a lot of people lose weight so they can get girls like bodybuilding.com, and then they finally reach that 6%. They're like, God damn, I'm so shredded. They pull a girl
yeah,
and they can't even get
yeah,
hard.
yeah. They
That's
can't even get
hilarious.
it up. Yeah, yeah. But I mean, that level of leanness is not even attractive to women anyway. You kind of look like you just look like you're starving. I mean, you look ripped as fuck, but anyway, so during that time, when I did that physique competition, that was actually the time where I was doing the most pickup stuff. That was actually where I was going out the most. And so
Yeah,
what's cool about dieting is it's not a day to day process. It's like you almost want to look at it as like a week to week process. So,
sure.
the golden rule, calories in, calories out. So if we just do the math, let's say that just to make it easy, let's say that my maintenance calories, where I'm not gaining or losing weight, is 2,000 calories a day, everything included with all the math calculations that I mentioned earlier. So that means if I take in, multiply that by 7 days, if I take in less than 14,000 calories per week, then I will be losing weight, right? My body
Right.
will have to use body fat. So let's say one of those days you have one of those binge sessions, you have a little bit too much fun,
Sure.
have a lot of drinks, you freaking eat junk food that night, you're hungover the next day, you need greasy food to help yourself. So let's say within a 24-hour span, you end up taking in like fucking 6,000 calories, God forbid, right? So 6,000 calories, that
Yeah,
means you
that
have
sounds about
8,000
right.
calories. Yeah. So that means you have 8,000 calories left for the rest of the week in order for you to still be able to. So all you do then is you adjust it on those other days. So 8,000 divided by 6, I don't know what that is. Quick maths, I don't know. Let's say that that's like 1,200 or 1,300
Somewhere
calories.
around there. Yeah, somewhere in
Yeah.
there.
So technically speaking, if you just take in that amount for the rest of the week, then you're good. You're still on track. The problem is that is like a 700 calorie decrease per day than what you're used to, right? So
Right.
what's cool about this is there is a way to mitigate that effect. If you
Yeah.
fuck up, like if you fuck up one day and you just go completely overboard, that's not something that's going to just completely kill everything, right?
Okay.
Um, so that is something to keep in mind. That's sort of one thing to keep in mind. So, but practically speaking, let's say that this happens once a week. Ideally, we want to avoid as much as possible, but let's say it happens once a
Sure.
week.
We got to
Well,
be
what you want to
prepared for the
do is
possibility, right?
exactly. So what you want to do is you want to minimize the amount of calories that ends up happening with that. So one, make sure that you're just taking in, if you are having alcoholic drinks, uh, try to take in as little calories as possible. If you're just
Like
pounding a
White
bunch
Claws or
of
some
Guinness,
shit.
yeah, yeah, exactly, like White Claw. White Claw is very popular among,
Vodka.
yeah, vodka and soda. Um, but if you're taking in like fucking like I don't know, like tequila sunrises or Jack and Coke with, you know, actual Coke, like it's just not, and not Diet Coke,
It
like
adds up to like
that can
2,000
really add.
calories or something. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and they're empty calories too, and it's just not good. And like you said, actually, where people screw up the most is that you lose your inhibitions when you're drunk, right? You're like, I don't care, I'm just gonna eat whatever I want. I'm gonna do what feels good, and just go to McDonald's, and just stuff your face. So
Yep.
that's
It's
what you
Taco
want
Bell
to
for me, but
avoid.
yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, that was Taco Bell for me too, back when I lived in the U.S. So, uh, what one thing that we can do is make sure that you have certain meals that you allow yourself to have when that happens. So my go-to is always Chipotle, because Chipotle is high in protein, good macronutrient wise, but it still kind of is junk food a little bit. Like it's better for you than it is worse for you. But I always use that as a go-to make sure.
Okay. The only
And
problem
then
is
other
they're
things too.
closer, right? So at like, because I'd be
What
ordering
what
at
are the
like
places?
2 a.m., 4 a.m.
Yeah, yeah. So other little things you can do too is try to get something more protein rich, like chicken. But fried chicken is probably not good. So try to get grilled chicken. Most places serve grilled chicken. And what's great about having protein is it's more satiating because your body has to
Right.
expend energy to take it in, right? And also, protein in isolation is actually almost literally impossible to store as body fat. It has to go through two different complex processes in order to be converted to fat. It needs to go through this process called de novo lipogenesis, turn into a carb, and then after that, turn into a fat. I'm sorry. It needs to go through gluconeogenesis first, turn into a carb, then another process. Once it's a carb, it needs to go to another process called de novo lipogenesis to turn into a fat. So it's like, or it has to turn into a fat through the kidneys, which almost never happens, you know? So that's one reason to try to keep your protein high. Also, because it helps fill you up more, it helps with building muscle and all that type of stuff. So if you're able to, when you have those times, again, you want to avoid those as much as possible. But if you do, just try to have very protein heavy meals. It's going to fill you up faster, be less calories. So yeah, it's kind of a double whammy with that. And if you could also add
so I
some
should plan
fiber
something
there
in
too.
advance, which is something. I mean, we can talk about the options separately, but
Yeah.
should have something
Mhm.
in place as what to do if I'm in that scenario, which makes a lot of sense. Okay,
Mhm.
so I'll tell you what I've been trying to do, and you can tell me it's if it's too absurd, because it
Sure.
is not on the lighter side. But I've been doing this for the last few weeks. I've been doing keto, which steak's my favorite food. I love eggs, so it's not nuts. It's not too hard for me.
Mhm.
But I always, whenever I binge drink, whenever that happens, I fall off. I fail to
Mhm.
fall off ketosis or whatever for sure. So that's what I've been doing, and then lately I've also been doing one meal a day. So I just go.
Mhm.
There's a Brazilian steakhouse near where I live, so you can just eat infinite steak, and they have cheese and stuff like that. So it kind of it has enough food that you can just eat one meal, and you can have like 2,000 calories if you want.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, that's not keto is great. There's nothing particularly special about keto. The big benefit to it is that um, if you like it, you really like it. If you hate it, you really hate it, right? So you don't need to force yourself to do it. If it's in line with the types of food you like to eat already, perfect. The problem does come along when you kick yourself out of ketosis, right? Because I don't
Right.
know if this happened to you, but there's a common thing that happens when you start keto is you get the keto flu, and you kind of feel
Hmm.
like shit for a little bit, and then all of a sudden you feel fine.
I think I got that. I mean, I
But
didn't get it very intensely, but I got something,
yeah,
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 to
yeah.
some extent.
Um, so part of the issue is when you're uh, being kicked out of ketosis isn't like the end of the world or anything, but you could kind of go through this weird process of going through that flu thing kind of perpetually or not. I haven't really done keto too many times, but I've helped guys through it. But basically, what happens with ketosis is with a lack, because glucose is the sort of the gold mine for your body and all animals. As a matter of fact, if you
Right.
ever see ants crowding around a bunch of food, it's always sugar because sugar is like the base um, energy source, right? And so um, when you starve your body of sugar and more complex forms of sugar, basically carbs, polysaccharides like complex carbs and stuff, your body has to create that same energy source somehow. So what it does is it produces ketones, which is basically like the body's own created version of carbs almost. It serves the same function, you know, um, which is awesome. And some people have there's some evidence that there's like some mental benefits and stuff. So that's great. And some
Yeah.
people can really stick to that, which is good. But when you kick yourself out of that and your body's kind of like if you introduce too many carbs, your body's going to be like starving for it, and it can ruin and kind of fuck up your diet a little bit. That's one thing. One of the drawbacks of keto is that now there's multiple methods where you actually do like a carb refeed, where you allow yourself to have some carbs like every once in a while to sort of like reset your system. It's a bit more theoretical, but that's something that if you're, I think this could work out. Now I'm thinking about it, if you can just make it a rule for yourself, okay, I'm not going to kick myself out of ketosis. Well, when you're drunk or when you drink every once in a while and you get those cravings, just make sure that you stick to that rule. That'll just be the one rule, and the one condition is fine. You can binge whatever you have to do, but like just keep it to the protein and fats, no carbs. You know.
Okay. So you know what I could do, and I was considering doing this. I can order something like one of those food delivery services, like Factor, where they have pre-made meals, And so what
Mm,
I can do is if I have those in my fridge, I have those in my freezer. They only take like 2 minutes to get ready. Then at 4 a.m. when you have a craving, it's going to be hard to find some like, keto friendly offer at that time. But if I
yeah,
already have that in my freezer available, then that becomes the easiest option, right? So maybe that's kind of
bingo.
the way around that.
Yep. There's two different things
Okay.
you can do. Yeah, you can definitely do that. Have pre-made meals, which is great. Um, you could also meal prep, which is a bit more. It sounds really annoying, but it's really not that bad. Because if you meal prep properly, then you only have to cook like once a week, or you could hire
Right.
somebody to cook for you. To be honest, I mean, there's services out there like that where like you have all of your food ready, and then you
I
have
mean, my
some.
brother is a cook, so
Oh, well, perfect. Yeah. So just,
yeah.
pay him a little bit of money, or if he's really nice, he'll do it for free. But, that's between you guys.
Or buying the
And
food or something. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And he'll just cook all those, uh, for you, put them in the fridge. You can just reheat it. It has to be the types of foods that still taste good when you, uh, reheat it and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it's, you always want to prepare for, those things, and especially if you know. So here's another thing you can do, another little hack, I guess I could say. If you know that, like, okay, let's say, all right, Friday's coming up, and you know that you're going to be going out with your friends, or there's some, um, you definitely are going to like drink a little bit, on
Yeah.
Friday. What you can do to prepare for that is, okay, Wednesday, Thursday. Let's say that you should we determine you should be taking in less than 2,000 calories a day. Leading up to Friday, you can actually have on Wednesday and Thursday a little bit less calories. So have like 1,500 on Wednesday, 1,500 Thursday, and then let's say you end up taking in like 4,000 calories uh, on on Friday.
Right.
Well, that puts you back a bit, but you still had sort of like 1,000, uh, like almost like a line of credit, like 1,000 calories worth of credit, uh, and then you overspend that. You end up, so you still accrue a debt, right? But instead of accruing a debt of 2,000, calories, you instead accrue a debt of 1,000 calories that you have to make up for throughout the week, right? Um, it is something to be careful about though, because it can drive you crazy in the long run if it, and you could get in the habit, unfortunately, of being like, oh well, I'll just push it off to another day. I'll push it off to another day. So you have to be very
Right.
careful with that. And so one of the ways in which you guarantee, I guess, that that doesn't happen or doesn't become a problem is just making sure that you're tracking your progress, right? So if you're doing that, if we allow you to do that, and but then you're not progressing at all, well then clearly, you know, that's you're going a little bit
Not
too
working.
much, too
Right.
overboard with that, right? Yeah. And so we should strategize more around that if that happens. So that's why keeping track of your progress is so key. So what are the best ways to keep track of progress? Well, weight on the scale. A lot of people use that,
Sure.
but the weight on the scale can lie sometimes. But it's still good to do over time. It's not going to lie, right? If you have like 40 pounds of body
Right.
fat to lose, it's going to be reflected on the scale
It'll move
eventually.
in the right direction. Yeah.
Exactly. But sometimes it's a little bit delayed. You might be losing body fat, but you might be retaining water or whatever. So you want to make sure that you are also taking waist measurements. So if you have
Sure.
a tape measure, waist measurements, and you also
Yeah.
want to be taking progress pictures too, to make sure that the more sort of modalities that you have to track progress, the better. So let's
I can
say
do that
two
all
of the
as a
three.
daily routine in the morning, right? Something like that.
Exactly. Yep. Yep. The best way to be accurate with your tracking of your progress is to make it a daily thing. It's kind of annoying at first, but it really only takes like 5 minutes if you're doing it right. Um, and that way you have more data points as well. Because sometimes, you know, I've had this happen for myself and guys I've trained where I'm just like, okay, well, just weigh yourself every Tuesday, you know? So let's say that they weigh themselves on Tuesday, but for some reason they're not holding any water that day, and they say, oh look, I'm 190 pounds. The next week they do the same thing, but let's say they're holding a lot of water for some reason. They're like, oh shit, I'm 192 pounds. Well, little do they know they actually had lost 2 pounds of body fat, but they were holding like four
Right.
extra pounds of water, for example. You don't know the difference, right? that those little errors minimize themselves if you weigh yourself every single day. And
Right.
also there's a
Right.
little bit less psychological torture and expectation. You know, a lot of times if you're just like, fuck, I have to weigh myself on Tuesday, oh my God, like, you don't have to go through that, because you know consciously if you weigh yourself every day, you're not going to lose weight every single fucking day, right? But if you're doing things right, you see a trend downward over time. So it's
And you can still do a
usually what you
weekly
see is
measurement. You
like
just
the
add them up and divide them, right? I mean, you can
exactly,
still find out what
exactly,
the weekly progress is.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so that sounds really good. So should I can do that, no problem. Should I set a specific calorie goal, or do you have a different suggestion?
There's two different ways of doing this. Um, so first off, if you're doing 1 meal a day keto right now, or that's what you were doing before?
It's what I've been doing the OMAD part for a few days.
Okay,
And right now, I mean, it
so
doesn't feel that I don't feel hungry right now. I ate at like 1 p.m. I feel fine.
yeah. So the
At
less
least at the moment.
complicated we can make things, the better. It again,
Yeah.
it's back to the conversation we had at the beginning of this stream, where I was talking about optimality versus compliance slash sustainability, right? So the most optimal thing to do is to just keep track of all your calories, right? But that can get annoying as
Right.
fuck very quickly, and it's not very sustainable. So instead, what I advocate for is for more sort of like a lifestyle change that you can stick to. So what's great is um, with 1 meal a day, especially doing keto, you absolutely will lose weight, even if you like stuff your face. That's not going to last forever. But what I like to do is I like to sort of keep things as easy as possible and then make them a bit tougher when things actually get tougher,
They
when they're
need to
actually
be.
necessary.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Sure.
Yeah. So I think what we should do for now, and this is going to be great for us to do these check-ins, is we should stick to the 1 meal a day keto like you've been doing. And then let's say that we check in next week and you haven't made any progress at all. Well, then at that point, we're going to be like, well, shit, we have to adjust something. Oh, what did you do
Right.
this week? Oh, well, I drank once and then, I went off keto and I fucking
Went off the
ate a
rails. Yeah.
McDonald's or whatever. Yeah. Well, I'll be like, well, that's why you're at where you're at, right? Conversely, let's say that happens one time, but you're still saw progress. Well, that's good. Eventually, that's going to be something that we have to minimize as much as possible, especially as we get leaner and leaner. Doesn't mean you have to
Yeah.
completely cut it out of your life, but you can't be doing it that often, still see progress. But then that's a good thing, right? The more it's sort of like what's a good analogy? What's a good way to put it? You don't want to show all of your cards and everything you got like too soon. So let's say you have like you want to keep some strategies in your back pocket, because like let's
So
say
it's
you
like
throw
Dragon Ball
everything you
Z. You
have.
don't want to. It's like Dragon Ball Z, Frieza. You want to save your transformation for when Goku comes.
Perfect
I wanted to think of
analogy,
the
exactly.
nerdiest analogy possible. Yeah.
No, it's a perfect analogy. So if you can, let's imagine Goku just goes Super Saiyan 3 immediately, and then he gets his ass kicked. He's got nowhere to go after that. He's just fucked because that's at his like highest
Yep.
level, right?
Yeah.
Um, I'm talking about canon Super Bowl. I'm not talking about Super
Yeah.
Bowl GT.
I wanted to comment, but I knew that would derail it. So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was
yeah.
like,
Not
what
GT
about
where they had
Saiyan
that
Blue or
that weird
whatever? But okay.
super. No, fuck that.
Super
Just
Saiyan
up to
God.
3. So yeah, so just assume
Ultra
3 is the
Instinct. Come
highest,
on,
right?
bro.
Nah, I
Someone
don't.
doesn't keep up.
That I keep up. I just pretend it doesn't exist. But anyway, so yeah, you want to start at base level, right? If you can defeat your opponent at base level, that's great. But then let's say your opponent gets stronger, then you have to go Super Saiyan 1. Then after that, then you can beat him there. But then let's say he gets stronger again, then you have to go level above that, Ascended Super Saiyan 2. Then you can do that.
Yeah.
You want to have those in your back pocket, right? So it's the same thing with diets. Like, okay, we can get fancier and more strategic with what we implement in our diet, but we want to save that for when we have to use it, you know?
Right.
So this is
Yeah,
our
that sounds
Super
good.
Saiyan 1
Makes
phase.
sense.
I'm sorry,
Right.
not Super Saiyan 1, just base phase. Like we're not changing hair colors or anything yet. We're starting off there, and if you could see progress with just that, that's great. But eventually, once the diet becomes tougher, right? Then we have to go Super Saiyan 1, and then eventually Super Saiyan 2, Super Saiyan 3, right?
Yeah.
It
Makes
really
sense.
just depends on how far you want to bring it, because, also there's a cost to going Super Saiyan 2 or Super Saiyan 3. I mean, if you remember the first time
You run out of stamina.
Goku, yeah, and it takes a lot of training and effort. Like the first time Goku went Super Saiyan 2, I believe, he had to go into the hyperbolic time chamber and, train in there for like years, even though the outside
Yeah, I
world
believe it
was
was
like a
actually
day or whatever.
Gohan who did that first and surpassed Goku, and that's how he defeated Cell. But yes,
That's right.
something
That's
like
right.
that.
It's been
God
a
damn.
while, but yeah.
Well,
Hey, good point.
I win, but I show myself being more of a nerd. So what? That's like a Pyrrhic victory.
I guess so. But hey, DBZ's fucking base, so who cares?
Yeah, I'm
Nerdy
sure
in
a
a
lot
good
of
way.
my subscribers, probably a lot of them watch Dragon Ball Z. So,
Oh
um,
yeah, of course. But yeah, that's going to be sort of the strategy. So what we'll do is first just one meal a day, keto only, right?
mhm,
And then we'll check in and see how you're doing, right? So you all you have to do is track your weight on the scale every day. We're going to take whatever it is over the 7 days, divide it by 7, and that's how much you've actually. That's the most accurate way to see how much you've lost within
right.
that week. You also want to do waist measurements. I think waist measurements, you should, if you're already on the scale, you might as well do it in the morning too.
Yeah, I'll need
So
to
I
buy
would
a
track
tape
all of
measure,
those
but
too.
I'll do that right after.
Yeah, yeah. And so the protocol to do in the morning to keep it as accurate as possible. When you wake up, don't drink anything. You want to do it while you're dehydrated, and try your best to take a shit before. Obviously,
All right.
take a piss too. That's where things are going to be the most accurate. Some days you won't be able to, whatever, but first thing in the morning, you want to try to keep it as consistent as possible. So yeah, that's going to be the plan. And sometimes you're going to see some days where it's like, shit, I lost 3 pounds, amazing. Other days like, fuck, I gained 2 pounds. Don't worry about
Right.
it, right? Just stick with the plan and what you're doing, and over time, it's going to even out anyway. So that's sort of like the basic fundamentals of keeping track of those things. And then when we meet once a week, that's when we're going to um, analyze. Okay, well,
Adjust.
like, all right, well,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly. Okay, well, or sometimes I could see it too. So it's like, okay, well, let's say, how much did you say you weigh now? 204 pounds, just about.
204.6 this morning. Yeah.
Okay, so let's say you start off tomorrow, you're 205 pounds. Then the next day you're 204, 204, 203, maybe even down to 201 one day, and then all of a sudden one day it's like 206. It's like, okay, wait, what happened within that day?
We'll
Oh,
both know what happened that day. We'll both know.
exactly. But what we can see too is, let's say that happened, but then you go back down again, and throughout the week, right? You start off at 205, but let's say that it averages out to within 1 week, you're down to 201, even though you had that one binge day. Well, I don't adjust anything until I see a problem, right? I want to maintain whatever lifestyle you want to live for as long as possible. Again, this
Yeah.
is something that I
Okay.
learned. It's about doing what works and what you can stick to in the long run versus just optimality. Because
Perfect. Yeah.
especially for marketing purposes, I've been in this industry now for 10 years. The most expedient path, and I've done this with some clients, I'll be honest, is like you just try to give them the biggest transformation in the shortest amount of time possible, right?
Right.
Now, if you know what you're doing, you can set them up on the right plan to make sure they sustain that over time. However, it unless it's somebody with a lot of willpower and they really know what they're doing and you've really taught them well, they're going to struggle with that. So it's easier, or it's better for them in the long term to make it more of a lifestyle, you know. Because for you to be able to get to like a good healthy body fat percentage where you look really good and stuff, you're not like super ripped or anything, but like you look great, you're lean, and you look your best and you feel good. You don't need to do fancy shit to get there, man. You just don't.
Yeah.
You just need to make sure that you're doing like consistent stuff that you can stick to, that adhere to the best uh, the best principles for sustainability. So
Sure.
that's going to be the attitude that I'm going to go with this is, and that's going to be
Yeah.
sort of the marker for how I see it. Did we succeed in this project? Is like, okay, well, what did Avery look like by the end of the year, let's say 2020, by New Year's, right? Like, and how is he able to sustain that? Is it easy for him to sustain? Yeah, great, fucking success. And then once you reach that, let's say you want to bring it to the next level, and then you want to go like Super Saiyan 3. That's when we can start
Right.
to do, like, if you really want to do that, that's when we can start doing more really try hard stuff, like
The advanced stuff.
exactly, like meal prepping, really tracking each calorie meticulously. Um, and even that's not sustainable. Like, I've done that, but I only do that when I'm preparing for a photo shoot or like a physique competition, which I haven't done in a while. Because right now my priority, this is side tangent, my priority is beach volleyball. I want to become a professional beach volleyball player. So
Okay, I
my
didn't know that's an
priority is just kind of,
unexpected arc. All right.
yeah. No, I'm pretty fucking good, man. I'm not gonna lie. I have a decent amount of talent for it, and I really like it. But yeah, that's a whole different thing. I mean, when you live along the beach, and you live in very tropical areas, I think it's a natural thing that you pick up. It's great. Side note,
Yeah,
dude,
yeah.
this is something that you should maybe teach some of your guys one day. Beach volleyball for pickup, for picking up girls is fantastic. It is.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, most of the girls who play it are hot, right? And you're probably
It's not
gonna.
just exactly. It's that, but also if you're playing along the beach, any hot girl walks by, just like, hey, you want to play? That's it. A lot of times they'll say, yeah, be like, I don't know, like I don't really play. Can you teach me? Be like, yeah, baby, I'll teach you. I play in
I'll teach you a
tournaments and
lot of
stuff. I got you.
things. Teach you a lot of
Yeah,
things. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, it's a huge hack, by the way. Just a side note.
All right.
So yeah. Anyway, just back to the topic at hand. That's going to be the plan: is try to keep things as simple as possible. Only complicate things when we have a reason to complicate it.
Right. So adding
Yeah.
layers, I mean, I'll go to the gym when I can go to the gym, but that's not a requirement
Hmm.
yet. Versus counting steps, these other things that I could also do. That's we don't want to do like add everything at once and have a million requirements, right?
Exactly. Now, what I would have you do workout wise, I know we talked about diet a lot here so far, but working out is very important too, obviously. I think what we should start off doing, there's two different methods we can do. Well,
Sure.
so I want to ask you a few questions based on that. So, the two methods, first of all, is one, you only just go to the gym a few times a week. Two, but then you have like pretty intense workouts when you do that, like full body. You do a lot of stuff while you're there. The second method is you go basically every day so that you can maintain a sort of routine, but you really don't do that many exercises. You just go in there and you do
That's
like
definitely
three
better for me.
exercises.
I that one's
It is
clearly
okay.
better for me because, um, as you may know, I have a history with panic disorder with anxiety, and
Hmm.
to this day, the number one thing that causes me anxiety for whatever reason, it's usually the opposite for most people, but for me, working out increases my anxiety.
Hmm.
And so basically, it's because I start thinking I might be having a heart attack because my heart's beating fast and stuff like that. I can go. That would be a whole side tangent as to why that happens, but that's the
Hmm.
number one thing that increases my anxiety. So if I'm doing really intense workouts less often, that's going to be a lot harder to maintain than doing less intense workouts more often.
Yeah, and you might psych yourself out before you go to the gym too. It's sort of like with pickup. Oh well,
Yeah.
what's better to
I have
pick
to do
to
50
cold approach?
approaches. That's going to be, you're not going to do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's like either like
If
what's
you're
better,
new.
cold approaching 10 girls a day or cold approaching 70 girls in one day, right? Like in the span of a week. Obviously, cold approaching 10 girls over 7 days is better than cold approaching 70 girls in one
It's just a
day,
lot
right?
easier. Yeah.
Exactly. And so okay, so that's perfect then, because there are some people that they don't want to go to the gym that often. But if you're able to go to the gym basically every
There's
day,
literally, I mean, there's a gym in my condo that has
yeah, yeah,
everything we need.
yeah,
So
I've been there, yeah. So yeah, what we can do is just have you go in. You'll just perform three exercises, and I'll design this for you. So you perform three
awesome.
exercises. You'll just do like 3 sets each, and then you're just out of there. You're good. It should
Yeah,
only
sounds good
take
to
like
me.
maybe 30 minutes, maybe.
Okay.
And if you have to do more steps, then you can hop on a cardio machine and do some steps. But speaking of keeping things in your back pocket, like not going Super Saiyan 2 or Super Saiyan 3 too early, I use cardio as the same way. I don't start to use cardio for people trying to lose weight until we have to. That's like
Yeah.
an extra thing. So if you can just lose weight just off of your diet, just off of the strength workouts, just off of walking and stuff, that's amazing. And then let's say
Which I'm
you hit
sure
a
I can.
wall. Yeah. But then once things start to slow down, then that's when we can be like, okay, well, let's add a few cardio sessions in. At the beginning of your workouts, do like 10 minutes of cardio. And then let's say you're progressing and then you start to slow down again. Okay, now let's do 10 minutes of cardio beforehand, just as a warm up, your workout, and then do 10 minutes of a little bit more intense cardio at the end, right? And then that's when you can, because as you lose weight, your metabolism slows down. It's not
Yeah.
necessarily a bad thing; it naturally happens. But you have to adjust your calories accordingly. So, for example, when I was doing my physique competition, I started off at like 210 pounds. I started dieting at 2,900 calories. When I stepped on stage, I was 175. So I lost like 30 pounds, right? 35 pounds, actually. By the time I stepped on stage, my calories were at like 1,200. Now, keep in
Oh
mind,
wow. Yeah.
that
Nice.
that's not
That's
healthy.
that's
That's a
rough.
huge disparity. Yeah. But let's just say if I'm staying within my body fat set point range, which we talked about earlier, if I'm at what did I say? It's about like 12 to 18%. So for me, maybe 18% is like I can diet taking in like less than 2,700 calories a day, and then when I'm at 12%, it's more like 2,300. You know,
Yeah.
so that's a pretty significant amount, but it does naturally decrease over time. And so, in order for you to be able to uh, live like that, what you can do and not minimize your food intake significantly is increase the amount of steps that you're taking, increase the amount of cardio that you do. That's when you can start to do that. But you don't want to rely on cardio. That's a recipe for
Yeah.
disaster. When people say, "Oh well,
Yeah.
I don't want to change my diet, so I'm just going to fucking make up for it with cardio." It's like it's pretty shocking how little cardio actually burns compared to how much you could easily eat. So it's very easy for you to
Yeah.
eat like a bag of French fries from McDonald's is like 400 calories. For you to burn 400 calories on the treadmill, it's going to take you about an hour of work. So it's like good luck using that
Right. So
strategy,
if
man. You're
after
gonna
the
be
that workout, you're like, you know what, I earned a little meal, and then you eat a McDonald's combo meal, which is like 1,500 calories.
yeah,
You're net negative 11 from from the progress you thought you were making.
bingo. That's
Okay.
why
So we have a
that's what sorry, just one more thing. I was gonna say that's why a
sure.
lot of people they'll go to the gym, right? Everybody knows these people. They tend to be older. You see them at the gym all the time. They're working their asses off, but they see no progress. They always look the same. It's usually because they just overeat whatever they burned. They're probably like, "Oh, I
Yeah.
accomplished myself at the gym today. Let me just go to the buffet really quick and stuff my face." It's like that's you just undid all the work that you did. you know. So yes, sorry. Go ahead.
So so we have a diet plan. We have a workout plan. You're going to send me that, and then we have a plan for keeping track of things. So, is there anything else that we should get set in stone before going to the next? Before just seeing what happens.
Um, I like to set midterm goals more than long-term goals.
Sure.
So I think realistically, and then you chunk down from there. So whatever you want to, I think what I said earlier, I think it's good to say, okay, well, by New Year's, I want to accomplish X, or maybe even by
Yeah.
Christmas, that's fine. Um, well, actually, wait, today's July. So maybe by Thanksgiving, let's say Thanksgiving, actually. So by Thanksgiving, I want to accomplish X, right? So that gives us, how many months is it to Thanksgiving? It's basically August, September, October, 3 months ish, a little bit more than 3 months. Um, so we want to determine how much weight we want to lose by then, realistically, and then work backwards from there. So
Yeah.
that way we know, okay, well, here are the milestones that we should be accomplishing before we hit this. So we can strategize about that now, or maybe next call. But I think we should
Okay.
do a
Yeah,
rough
probably
estimate.
next call. We don't want it to be super long. Yeah. Okay. We can do a rough
Yeah.
one.
Well, let's do a rough estimate now. So you're 205 pounds now.
Yep.
Now on an aggressive diet, you're losing about 2 to 3 pounds a week. That's quite aggressive. I
Yeah.
think instead maybe we should aim for 1 to 2, so that average between that's 1.5. So let's just assume over the next 12 weeks. Let me just bring my calculator out here. 1 second. Over the next 12 weeks would be, so 12 times 1.5, whatever that is.
18.
Damn, quick maths, bro. Shit. Is that what it
Well,
is?
it's not. I mean, that's not like that.
Oh wait, yeah, that's right. Yeah, 12. You just
It's not
divide
like
it by
super
2.
hard. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 I'm just kind of telling on
Yes,
myself.
I'm a math
there.
genius. Woo! Yeah. The human calculator.
Yeah. Okay, so 18. Yeah, so 18 pounds in 3 months, especially if it's all body fat, is a lot. If
Yeah. Okay.
people watching this, or you could do this yourself. If you Google what 5 pounds of body fat looks like, it's insane. It's just that a lot of times when people lose 18 pounds, they're losing water weight and stuff too. So it seems like it's less than it really is. So I think because of that, you're not going to have some water weight that you lose. I think we should aim for 20 pounds, losing 20 pounds by sometime in November. So basically around Thanksgiving. So that means that let's just say you're 205 now, just to make it easy. So you should be under 185 pounds by November. So instead of just saying like Thanksgiving specifically, let's just say sometime in November, we want to hit 185 pounds. If that's at the beginning of the month, that's awesome. If it's at the end of the month, that's fine, right? So then we work our way backwards from there. So if you're 185, if we need to hit 185 pounds by sometime in November, then, and it's like 1.5 pounds a week. So that's, what's 1.5 times 4? Quick maths.
1.5 times 4. Wait, that's
yeah, that's 6. Yeah, I got it right this time. All right,
did you did they not
It's
teach
funny
you math
because
in elementary?
Hey man, I'm half Asian.
You're defeating it. Yeah, I was gonna say you're breaking that stereotype really hard right now.
I'm totally breaking the stereotypes. Well, hey man, if I have a calculator right there, it's like I might as well use it, But anyway, yeah. So 6 pounds. So you should be aiming to lose about 6 pounds per month
in the first month.
So
yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So that means then,
to be fair, I'm gonna lose some water weight right away, but
yeah. So maybe what we should say then is by September. And actually, I'm going to see you early September because I'm going to be in Vegas then. So this is perfect. So by the time that I see you in September, I think maybe we should have the aim to lose 10 pounds. I think that's good.
Okay.
So you're 205 now. So by the time I see you, you should be under 195. That's the goal.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. So aim to be under 195 by the time I see you in September. And that'll be a good accountability thing too, because we'll film videos of like how you're doing.
Yep.
When I come see you, right? And this will be like bonus points, It's not going to be required, but if you're under 190 pounds by then, that's fucking epic. But I don't want it to be at the expense of you like starving yourself and doing, because like I said, the trampoline analogy, all it's going to mean is that it's really fun on the way up, right? You're like, yes, this is great. And then you come back down and you just fall flat on your face and it fucking hurts. Right?
Yeah, I did that once in the past. I made a goal for 30 days. I put money on it, which is how I maintained it. I made a bet.
Mm-hmm.
And so for 30 days, I did a diet that is called the slow carb diet, which is basically keto, but you're also allowed to eat beans. That's basically the only difference. You can have like very high, glycemic index carbs, or so like fibrous stuff like beans. So it's basically keto plus that. And I ate 1,500 calories a day. And I did 4 hours of working out per day. 1 hour was Insanity, if you've ever heard of that, by Beachbody. And then the other 3 hours I biked. So I did 4 hours. I obviously was miserable. I did, in fact, lose a lot of weight, but it was so intense that after I reached my goal, and a part of the problem was I thought of it as a goal and then I'm done, right? As opposed to a lifestyle. So as soon as I reached that goal, it was, I think, 12% body fat. I got there. Great. But then the next day I ordered super nachos And then I did that like every day for a week. And then I ended up gaining the weight back over time, right?
Boing. Yep. It's that
Yeah,
rebound
exactly.
effect, Yeah. It's another way to think about it too is if you look at it, somebody else came up with this, not me, but if you look at it as like a slingshot. So a slingshot is going to the pebble or whatever projectile you have is going to go forward as fast as you bring it back,
Yeah.
right? And imagine that slingshot is being flung at your face, or whatever that is. That's going to hurt a lot if you're pulling it all the way back as hard as you can and letting go,
Yeah.
as opposed to if it's just a little bit, it's not that bad, right? Um, so yeah, that's something to keep in mind for sure. But you've already experienced before trying to go super hard for 30 days and unfortunately it didn't really work out in the long run, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think this time we should take a little bit more of that sort of lifestyle approach, and then with my guidance, we keep things as simple as possible, and then we complicate it a little bit when we have to, you know. And so that's going to be the plan. And we
All right.
meet each week to hold each other, for me to hold you accountable, make sure that we're tracking things right, and then I just make adjustments based off of how you're progressing. It's that simple.
Awesome. So this is great. I'm glad to be able to share with this. I hope that I do not, do nothing or get super fat during it. But I'm putting myself out there, holding myself accountable, and hopefully, I mean, the idea is, I mean, I know there's got to be a certain percentage of my subscribers are also overweight or more overweight than I am. And so I hope to inspire them to also make progress. That's the
Oh
idea of
yeah,
this.
man.
So now, if
Yeah.
anyone wants to learn more about your personal training, your coaching, the guides you have, where to reach out to you, how can they do that?
Yeah, so you could email me, kevinraywilder@gmail.com. Uh, Funny enough, on YouTube, my YouTube channel originally was all fitness, and my old Instagram account, it's still up. It's called the username is at Kevin underscore ATTB. If you scroll back, you'll see all my fitness content and stuff that I used to post. So if you want just like pure information, you can do that. But my second channel, it's called Beyond Self Improvement. I'm going to actually change the name of it soon. I'm going to actually repurpose that channel to just all fitness and lifestyle type of stuff because I think um, the type of lifestyle that I live allows me to be very fit. I live in Southeast Asia. I'm always kind of floating around right now between Vietnam and Thailand. I'm actually going to Malaysia next week. It's pretty dope. And so a lot of the cuisine and the lifestyle here. I mean, Vietnam is the least obese country in the entire world, which is crazy, right? Now it's not because they're like all emaciated and starving. That was the case like maybe like 50 years ago, but it's the employment rate's very high here. Nobody's starving or anything like that. It's the diet. It's the diet and the types of foods that they eat and the type of lifestyle that everybody lives. And so when you're in that environment, it's very easy for you to lose tons of weight and live a very fit, awesome lifestyle, as opposed to in the US where, like everybody's overweight there because it's like you're sitting in your car and stuff all day. People don't really go out to the park and the beach on a regular basis like they do
Yeah,
here.
it starts to feel
Just
like the
the
default,
types of
right?
food.
That's what it feels
Exactly.
acceptable. It feels normal. And then there's also other people are more likely to, oh, let's go to McDonald's, right? That's more normal for
Yep.
people to say those kinds of things, bring you in that direction. Now, I don't think that's a
Exactly.
valid excuse, but that is the broader cultural difference.
Yep. And so on my second channel, I'm going to be documenting that it's a mix of fitness and lifestyle, but I think the two combine together. And then my main channel, which some of your subscribers probably know me from, is just going to be video essays, which I love to do. And so I'm going to be posting. I haven't posted on YouTube in a while, but because I've been writing my book actually.
Yeah, we've already
Um,
got comments of people complaining about that.
oh, what? Of Where's Kevin?
That you haven't posted that you haven't posted in a while.
Yeah, yeah. I'm coming out with a very in-depth video essay about the manosphere in August. I think it's gonna actually be over an hour long, and that's gonna be all of my videos from now on is very in-depth video essays, with especially regarding philosophy, psychology, and that type of shit. So,
Nice.
and overall self-improvement. But I still want to make sure that I'm active on YouTube and not just only posting like a few long video essays a year. So that's what the second channel is going to be. The second channel is going to be me just like having my GoPro and not really putting much effort into editing and stuff, just showing me working out, living a fun, cool lifestyle, and just telling people how they can live the same lifestyle too. So that's going to be the goal. Yeah. But for now, if you want to inquire anything about coaching or even just ask me any questions, if it's like a small little question, like I'm happy to answer it for free. It's more so if you want me to guide you throughout the process, that's when, I have my services, right? That's how I make a living. So yeah, any of those, just email me, kevinraywilder@gmail.com, or you could DM me on Instagram at kevinraywilder2. And I'm happy to answer anything. Yeah. But all my fitness
Awesome. I'll have
content and
all
stuff
those.
is
I'll have
gonna
all
be.
those linked below.
Yep. Thanks, man. Yeah. All my fitness content stuff is going to be on that channel very soon. Yeah.
All right. Great. So, do we have any parting thoughts? Any last things we should say before
No,
wrapping up?
I didn't even. I had this on full screen. I didn't even see people in the chat. Oh, there's a few people. Yeah, I recognize some of these guys. Commando Master and
I'm sure
Brad
you
Smith.
recognize
I know
Brad
Brad
Smith.
Smith.
He's
Yeah,
everywhere.
yeah. I know Brad.
He's
Yeah,
ubiquitous. He's like a agent in the Matrix, right? Like can appear at
Good
any
old Brad.
time.
Could you bring up his question? I think this is something everybody can find
Sure.
value from. Cool. So he said I went from 255 to 195 just by consuming calories. That's fucking awesome, man. What do you think of the carnivore diet? Most of my diet is beef, chicken, fish, eggs, water, and coffee. Dude, if it works for you, that's great. I would say with the carnivore diet, there are going to be some micronutrient deficiencies that you might have that you might not be aware of. So it might be good to take a blood test and then take it to a doctor that can explain it to you. You might even want to do a little bit of your own research on that. But in general, that's okay. Yeah, I think it's fine. I think the carnivore diet is great. I'd say a bigger concern is if you're a vegan, which I mean, honestly, there's probably not that many vegans here, but vegan or vegetarian, a lot of times you have a vitamin B12 deficiency. So, but if you just take in vitamin B12 in like tablet form, or
How many
sometimes you can
vegans
have
do
it
you
in
think do pickup? I've probably lost like 3 subscribers saying that, but I just can't see many vegans being into pickup. Like any vegan I've met, they do not fit, in the lifestyle box of someone who would be into pickup. I bet that's
Yeah,
a very
that's why I was gonna
negative
say, yeah,
correlation. Yeah, it's got to be a negative
yeah.
correlation. Although in the
I think there's a
chat,
strong
leave if you're a vegan, leave it in the chat. Prove me wrong.
I think there's a strong correlation between being vegan and thinking that pickup is misogyny. Cold approach equals misogyny. Yeah.
Yeah.
So probably not. Yeah. No, but I think the carnivore diet is great. But like any diet, you want to make sure that you're maintaining good health, and there's going to be drawbacks and positives of each thing. So with micronutrient deficiencies, you might not feel it in the moment, but it could have long-term health consequences. Just be careful of that. But in general, you should be fine. But just for everybody, I think it's good to do a blood test every once in a while and get it examined and have the doctor sort of explain it to you. Yeah. I think that's it, man.
All right.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Awesome, guys.
I'm looking forward to. Oh, by the way, I got in a motorcycle accident 2 days ago, so that's why I have this on here. But I'm okay. That happens a lot in South these days, right? So it's kind of living life on the edge, I guess. But yeah, so yeah, we'll meet next week and stream this again,
Yep.
and then we'll off camera. I'll tell you like what workouts and stuff to do. We can even analyze the workouts next week and why I structure them the way that I did, if you want.
Yeah, it sounds good. Yeah, it sounds cool.
Yeah, and then that way you can ask me questions too of like, oh, this exercise felt weird. What do I do? Can I change it? Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole point of having a trainer is having somebody who can adjust and help you get the most success possible according to your lifestyle. My job is to make your fitness journey easier and simpler. So that's what the plan is.
All right, great. See you guys next week. Hopefully I'll be, a couple pounds lighter. We'll see. And wish me luck.